Greetings to everyone. This is Shivani, and on behalf of D Globalist and Treefrog Accelerator, delighted to welcome you all to the induction day of the Canada Business Expansion Week. So this week marks an exciting opportunity for all the founders looking for business expansion opportunities in the North American market, as it brings together the key startup ecosystem stakeholders from Canada to share insights on the vast potential that Canada offers to innovative businesses. Our goal is to provide you with valuable information, direct access to experts, and opportunity for selected startups to present their ideas to a panel of judges composed of key industry decision makers, including, of course, Treefrog Accelerator, which is a Canadian government authorized designated organization that we have with us today. So to kick off this week, we have organized a comprehensive webinar today featuring distinguished speakers who will share their expertise on the available programs and opportunities for expanding your business to Canada. So thrilled to introduce a great lineup of speakers. Representing D Globalist, we have Devesh Sharma, the founder and CEO of D Globalist. We also have Brooke Finlay, our Canada business immigration partner for D Globalist. From Treefrog Accelerator, we have Sean Stevens, the CEO of the organization. Also joined by Treefrog, we have CFO Amir Siddiqui and Executive Director Laurie Baker. And representing the government's angle from the town of Newmarket Corporation, we have Chris Callio. He's the Economic Development Officer from the Corporation of Newmarket. Representing the VC investment domain of Canada, we have Mohan Markandeya, the Managing Partner for Good News Ventures. To speak on the banking industry of Canada, we have Larry Dong, a development banker for BDC. And to enlighten us on their first-hand experience with Canadian expansion of their respective businesses, we have entrepreneurs, Kritika Tyagi, who's the co-founder of Earthos Inc., and Mohammed Sapahi, who's the co-founder and CEO of Rapido. So this lineup will give us a well-rounded perspective of the Canadian business expansion journey from these experts on the startup ecosystem here. And I encourage each one of you to take full advantage of the insights, connections, and opportunities that today's session and, in fact, this entire week will offer. So please feel free to ask questions via the Q&A section. Or you can also raise your hand and we can connect you in to speak with the experts during the Q&A session that will be followed by everyone's talk at 7:55 p.m. IST. Now, without further ado, let's begin with our first speaker, Chris Callio, the Economic Development Officer from Corporation of Newmarket, who will be speaking on the government's perspective on the Canadian startup ecosystem. Hi, Chris.
Well, good morning. Good morning from Canada, and good afternoon and evening, wherever you are located. I am Chris Callio. I'm the Economic Development Officer for the town of Newmarket, located in the Greater Toronto area, which is the largest business hub in Canada and one of the largest in North America. So I want to give you a brief perspective on Newmarket and why you, when you're considering coming to Canada, coming to North America, why you may want to invest your business in Newmarket. To give you some geographic context, we are located about 55 kilometers north of downtown Toronto and about the same distance to Toronto International Pearson Airport. So very conveniently located. Newmarket is part of a larger region called York Region, which has 9 municipalities, a very vibrant economic entity on its own, which sits on the northern border of the city of Toronto. It has about 600,000 people work in York region. There's a population of 1.2 million people, and it really is a technology hub with over 5,000 technology companies. So in Newmarket, we are centrally located in York region. We are the administrative center for York region. We are also a regional center. We have a world-class hospital, a number of diversified industries, such as advanced manufacturing, particularly in the advanced automotive sector, with companies such as Magna International, Multimatic, and TS Tech located here. So it's a very strong manufacturing sector. And also a growing and vibrant technology sector, which we are trying to work with to grow this even further in Newmarket. So I can continue to give you a few facts and figures about why invest in Newmarket, but I really want to build on something that is really important to us. And I think you'll find it as the day goes on when Treefrog speaks, the people from Treefrog explain what they do. Newmarket is very much a supportive community. There's 29 municipalities in the Greater Toronto Area. We all say that we are the best location to invest. You know, we have market access, we have low taxes, although Newmarket's taxes are probably some of the lowest. But what I want to differentiate about Newmarket is that we care about our business community. Our town is committed to working with our businesses. And to this end, we're even working with the Treefrog, with the folks at Treefrog Accelerator to really try to, excuse me, my light went out. There we go. Really try to grow the entrepreneurial businesses in this community. And we're working with Treefrog to welcome international entrepreneurs to our community. And we are doing this by putting together a welcome package for those founders and those entrepreneurs from around the world who are considering coming to Canada. And really, it is a big change. And when they land at Pearson Airport, what are they going to do? When our goal is when they come to Newmarket, we will make it as seamless as possible. We will connect you with business organizations. We will connect you with newcomer service organizations. And at the town, I can guarantee to you that we will support your business at the town in Newmarket. So I welcome all of you to come and explore what Newmarket has to offer. And the one final thing I do want to say is I know founders and entrepreneurs who are looking to come to Canada. You also likely have families that are going to be coming with you. I want to assure you that we will work with both you and your families to make this transition as seamless as possible. So that's sort of my pitch about Newmarket, and I look forward to listening in and learning more about your businesses. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris, for enlightening us on the opportunities that Newmarket has. Up next, we have Devesh Sharma, founder and CEO of D Globalist, and he will be speaking on cross-border business expansion opportunities.
Thank you, Shivani and Chris. Great to meet you all and to host this amazing evening with Treefrog Accelerator. So I would like to take this opportunity to talk about why founders are expanding and what D Globalist is. The first thing as a company which we have done is to define the foreign founders or immigrant founders or founders who are taking their business global as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are new generation founders with a global mindset, taking their business global and competing on a global landscape. The foundation of D Globalist goes back to 2019 with the realization of two facts. One, that governments are looking at foreign founders, which is evident with the Chris, speaking and talking about what opportunities Canada has, especially Newtown. They are looking at foreign markets to come to their country, launch the new products, to fill the local gaps of technology, manpower, and also of products. Second realization was that founders could now take their business global. By sitting remotely thousands of miles apart, they can close a client, give demos online, test the market online. All of this led to creation of a borderless world for the founders. We, D Globalist, we are not just a company. We are much more than that. We are creating this borderless world for the founders. Through our global ecosystem consisting of foreign founders or entrepreneurs, global investors, CEOs and MDs of some of the largest companies of the world, professionals, as well as other stakeholders. Our ecosystem is spread across the world to help founders with their global vision. We take the founders from the very outset of the GTM to the growth stage, connect them with the right potential stakeholders, including their buyers, investors, government bodies through our ecosystem. So I'd like to keep it short and let my Canadian counterparts talk because they have a lot to talk about Canada. So with this, I would conclude by saying that the future belongs to those who would take their business global and think beyond boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Devesh. So I'd also like to add that from the VC side, we also have Daniel Graham, the co-founder of The Firehood and general partner of Phoenix Fire, who will be speaking shortly. And also from Treefrog side, we have two more speakers, Cece, who is the international program manager, and also James Deagle, who would be joining very soon, but we'll introduce you all to him as we get to the Q&A round. Up next to speak with us, we have Sean Stevens, the CEO of Treefrog Accelerator, who will be talking on the Canada Startup Visa Program, the policy changes and alternative expansion opportunities. Over to you, Sean.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I love that quote, "The future belongs to those who think globally." I couldn't agree more. Just quickly on who is Treefrog, you're going to find out more about us over the next few minutes, few hours, few days. We are sort of started off as an agency, I'm going to say 30 years ago. I'm dating myself a little bit. We have built and done and helped grow companies in various ways in marketing and technology. For those 30 years, we've helped thousands of companies in Canada and all over the world. And then what happened was we started raising money for startups and getting involved in the startup space. Even myself, I started a couple of startups, raised money myself, and as a result, realized the need for an accelerator, realized the need to pull together a community of startups and help them find investors, not just locally, but internationally. And so I actually chose to live in the town that we are in now. And the reason I say that is we live in Newmarket. We're out of Newmarket, which is part of the larger York region, which sits on top of Toronto. So if you look at a map and you look at the largest city in Canada, we're just above that. We're just close enough that I can go down every day for a business meeting or take my kids to a dance lesson. But I get to live in the most amazing town, in my opinion, in the world. And in fact, I grew up all over the world. I lived in 9 different countries in my life. I've done business all over the world, lived in Japan, lived in Southern Africa, lived in Asia. And look, the truth is we don't have pretty mountains. We don't have beautiful game reserves. We don't have fancy architecture with giant buildings. But what we do have is probably the best place in the world to run a business. And that is why, of all the places that I could live, I've chosen this place. We have an amazing, amazing business community. We have amazing relationships with our town, with our region. We have amazing relationship with the chambers of commerce and other things. And you couldn't find a better place to run a business. Not only that, you couldn't find a better place to put your family. We have amazing education, amazing health, amazing things to do. So of all the places you could go to in the world, of all the places I've chosen this place to run my business. And many of the businesses here are incredibly successful. They don't have to worry about political instability. They don't have to worry about other issues. They get all of these benefits by simply locating their business here. And we represent the SUV program. So this is a program that's been around for about 15 years, and you're going to find out more about this program. It is listed as the best program in the world for businesses who wish to immigrate or move to another country. And that's because Canada represents the highest quality of life, the most inclusiveness, the best access to skills, the best family environment, as I mentioned, the best future prospects for your family and for multiple generations, the best income tax and government support that comes along with that, and the quality of the opportunities that you're going to find. This is the best place to run a business in the world. We have access to the Americas, all the Americas, the rest of the world. We are treated incredibly well by everyone, all throughout the government, throughout the business, throughout our family lives. And in fact, this program has been so successful recently that they've slowed down applications for the next year or so. And we're working, which is great, directly. We actually, as Treefrog, are working directly with the ministers, et cetera, to open this program up more, because it's been so successful that they are actually rebuilding their infrastructure, the government, to help us move more people, find more businesses, and help them move to Canada. And there's the other options as well. And as you're going to find from the speakers and investors here, we're really an internationally minded country, we're internationally minded region, internationally minded town. We have all sorts of people working together who care genuinely about business. We care about growing ourselves. We care about growing you. So I look forward to seeing you in Canada one day very soon. Thank you, Shivani. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Up next, we have Brooke Finlay, our D Globalist business immigration partner from Canada, who will be enlightening us on Canada business immigration options for founders. So I will.
Thanks, Shivani.
Mike, over to you.
It's nice to meet everyone today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk about different ways that innovators and entrepreneurs can bring their businesses to Canada, expand to Canada. As Sean mentioned, one of the primary federal business immigration programs is the Startup Visa program. It's been running since 2013, so a well-established program. And I've worked in the program myself since 2015, helping hundreds of entrepreneurs who have applied through the program. And it's really exciting because one of the requirements of Startup Visa is that the founders and the venture is innovative, and it has the ability to scale globally. So I imagine that's why many of you are here, because those are the aspirations that you have. Perhaps you're operating in multiple countries already and considering making Canada and North America your next move. So Startup Visa program is a federal program, but we also have many other ways that entrepreneurs can bring their businesses to Canada or start businesses in Canada, whether that's a new idea and launching a new venture, or purchasing a business that is already in operation in Canada. There are provincial programs in almost all of our provinces and territories to consider, as well as ways to transfer yourself as the founder or perhaps CEO, and key staff as well, to launch a business that you may already have in operation outside of Canada, to launch operations in Canada through intercompany transfer programs. In Canada, we have over 125 different immigration programs, permanent residence programs. So lots of different options. And as Sean was saying, Canada is very receptive to attracting and retaining international talent, including entrepreneurs. There are small and medium businesses make up over 98% of businesses in Canada, and 33% of those businesses are immigrant entrepreneurs. And there are close to 600,000 immigrant entrepreneurs in Canada. So lots of diversity, lots of opportunity to connect with other entrepreneurs who have made that move and launched businesses in Canada. And lots of different areas as well, depending on your industry and your target market. There are different hubs throughout Canada that are very supportive of entrepreneurs bringing their businesses to Canada. I myself am on the West Coast, and Vancouver is a huge hub as well. One of the benefits of SUV program is that entrepreneurs have the legal authorization to live and work anywhere in Canada, in contrast to some of the provincial programs that would require you to be launching and growing your business within a particular province. So when you're choosing where to launch your business in Canada, what program is the best fit for you? There are lots of different factors to consider, including where you want to be located, how much time you want to spend in Canada, what are your obligations outside of Canada. There are some residency obligations in some of our provincial programs. The amount that you're investing in your business, your net worth, and a number of other factors. So when it comes to deciding that and figuring out the best path to obtain legal status to work in Canada on your business, as well as transition to permanent residence, those are things that I can help you with as the business mobility expert in D Globalist. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I'm also a tech entrepreneur building a platform that is making immigration legal services infinitely more accessible. So I understand the process from both sides, from a Canadian legal immigration perspective, as well as what you're going through as an entrepreneur and just how hard that is, and at times where there might be conflict or discrepancy between what the government of Canada is looking to see and what the realities on the ground of being an entrepreneur are, and can help navigate those nuances. So I'll leave it there, and Shivani, back to you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. So up next, I will let Laurie introduce our next VC speaker. Hi, Laurie, over to you.
Thanks, Shivani. Great. So excited to be here today, and would really like to introduce Mohan Markandeer. He's a known and active investor and MP of Good News Ventures VC, doing medium to large scale investments in Canada. Over to you, Mohan.
Hey, hi everyone. First of all, thank you, Treefrog and Town of Newmarket for having me. I've known actually Sean over close to 10 years. It's really awesome to see someone from entrepreneur as well as on the other side, the investor side. I mean, we met as being angels at Yoke Angel Investors. But great initiative. Really glad to be part of it, part of this. So as Laurie mentioned, I'm a managing partner at Good News Ventures. Good News Ventures, the name is to provide a positive connotation to something that's really difficult, which is being a startup and then investing in startup. The managing partners are myself and Marat. We are actually engineers and entrepreneurs, angel investors, and our fund focuses on pre-seed, so it's post-product, pre-revenue, or a path to monetization. We are sector agnostic, and we bet based on why you, all about the founder, why now, what's going on in terms of timing, and then why this, why is your solution different from what is out there? And again, talking about why you is typically focused on making sure that the founders at the early stage are very, very passionate about what you're doing. You can persevere through tough time, have a big, bold vision. You can hustle, founder market fit. These are some of the more of an art than science there. And the timing, what's going on in terms of the environment. The typical case that we always say is like Uber is not possible if you didn't have a smartphone with a payment processing and GPS on it. Airbnb validated their business model during a downturn, so they were able to get some early traction. And now, with obviously the advancement in the AI platform, so we always look for startups that are taking advantage of the timing, whether it's a technological advancement, consumer behavior, government regulations. And then in terms of why is your solution different from what is out there? We are based in Markham. We're part of York region, right next to Newmarket. But we invest across North America. Typically, our check size is between 100 to 500,000. we usually come around the time of angel investment. So when you started the company, you maybe have friends and family around, you go into an angel round, and we are the first institutional check that will come in. And to date, we have about 50 companies in our portfolio. We've exited from 8. We have 5 companies that hit $100 million valuation, one on a path to become a unicorn. So we do about, as I mentioned, 5 to 10 investment, but at the same time, we see thousands of startups. And unfortunately, we do say 99% of the time no. But the most important thing, as I will talk a little bit later on, is the importance of building a relationship with investors very early on, not when you are actually raising. So similar to most venture capital, we do look for big home runs. So we are looking for companies. I mean, we need to get 50 to 100x return. So typical funds have like 20 to 30 companies, or it depends. Some are at an early stage. We tend to have many companies in our portfolio, and because of the high failure rate, the 1 or 2 are going to give us the biggest return. So to get a 50 to 100x return, so we are looking for companies that are going to be multi-billion-dollar potential exits, and it does take a long time. So it's about like 10 to 12 years to get there. Everyone has talked about why Canada. I just need to re-emphasize this. I was born in Sri Lanka, grew up in Nigeria, and I worked in the US and moved to like Europe, worked there as well as in South America. I would say Canada is the best country in the world. I mean, they've already mentioned it, stable political and financial system. We have, education and healthcare is next to none. And then we are one of the elite universities in the world, University of Toronto, University of Waterloo. As some of you may already know, the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, from University of Toronto. The founder of Ethereum, Vitalik, is actually Canadian and is a dropout from Waterloo University. So with a favorable immigration policy, we actually have people from every part of the world. So if you are looking to build a global company, you can actually start in Canada and you get global perspective. So you can test out typically in a smaller scale, understand different people from different countries, how they view things, and you can get their perspective as well. And then talking about the startup ecosystem. I think, I started my first company. I'm going to age myself in the 90s. But over the years, the startup ecosystem has significantly grown. There are incubators and accelerators like Treefrog Accelerator, where you are get a program to how to start, to build, and then scale. And then on top of that, access to network, access to investors, access to people in the industries. And then that's continued to grow. And then with funds like us and the angel groups that have really started to grow within our ecosystem, I think this is a great place that you can actually think of starting a company. And I don't know how much time I have. I want to just do a little bit of, if you are looking to build a relationship with an investor. So one thing you want to do is join a program and get, settle here. You probably want to start building, you're looking for funding for your startup. So I would start by saying, first of all, figure out what type of investment do you need. Do you need an angel investor or a venture capital, or you want to get some debt financing? But then let me speak in terms of venture capital. So when you want to pick a VC to work with, or you want to reach out to, make sure you understand what stage, you're at and the stage that you want to go, the VC is in. So because last thing you want, you're a pre-seed, there's no point talking to a Series A investors. Make sure the industry that you are in matches with the VC that you're talking to. And also do the reverse, just like the VCs do diligence on startup. As a startup, you should do diligence on the VC, the credibility. Do they really help? Can they actually, investors can make or break you as well. If you get the wrong type of investor, it may have challenges as well. And I don't know if you're familiar. Something I will say, check out CBCA, the Canadian Venture Capital Association. There is a 50 VC list. There's a good resource to get access to all the different VCs in Canada. And maybe, if you're part of a Treefrog program, you can get a referral. The best way to meet an investor is through referral, either through an incubator accelerator or one of the service providers or someone that knows this individual, because that introduction will go a long way when it comes to a referral. And then also lastly, I want to make sure that you start building a relationship with investors, not when you're raising. I think I mentioned that earlier as well, because, and then if you have already a startup, if you have a investor update, add them to the, get permission and add them to your investor update. So you're beginning to build a relationship with them. And then as investors, we can see how you're progressing as well. But all in all, I can go on and on about why you should come here, start here, and then the support you can get. But I want to leave with a few takeaways. One, I think that the innovation hub here, especially for techs like AI and Web3 and quantum, even healthcare, I think we got one of the fastest growing startup ecosystem. And then in terms of VCs network, make sure you start building a relationship very earlier on to the investors, even when you are in another country, start building the relationship. And then I would say, lastly, I know that the market has gone through the ups and downs, and especially since 2021, the last couple of years have been very tough. But I would say it's the greatest time to start a business. I mean, I went through the dot-com boom and the bust and the financial crisis. I would say the most successful companies were formed during the downturns as well. So wish you all the best and very excited for what's ahead for you all.
Thank you so much, Mohan. Up next, we have one of our entrepreneur speakers. So I'll let Amer Siddiqui from the Treefrog team to introduce them.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mohan, for those wise words. And I'm going to introduce Kritika now, who is the co-founder of a climate technology company reducing plastics dependency called Earthos. I've known her not as much as 10 years, Mohan, but almost. We're approaching there. They're a Series A company, and they're, we like to call the pride of our country nowadays. They just recently revamped their company. They started in Canada, they moved to China, then they came back to Canada. So they have sort of a global approach. And I think Kritika has a couple of things to say about that.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the very kind introduction, Amar. We are getting there to that 10-year mark. So yeah, I'm Kritika. I'm the head of product and co-founder of Earthos. Like Amar mentioned, we are a climate technology company. And a lot of what we do is really centered around rethinking the building blocks of plastics. Now, before I really get into what that means, I wanted to really kind of take everyone through my journey as a founder, but also as an immigrant myself to Canada. And so I was born and raised in India. And around the age of 10, my family decided that we would immigrate to Canada just so that I would have better opportunities growing up and, be in an environment that really fosters innovation. And throughout my journey, both personally and professionally, I found myself coming back to Canada for a multitude of reasons that, I'd love to kind of get into today. So when we first started Earthos, my co-founder Nuha and I really wanted to make sure that the company, which at the time was centered around leveraging biomaterial, primarily plant-based ingredients to build alternatives for plastics, we wanted to make sure that it was living where it thrived. And so we did a lot of research. We were looking at, where do all of our suppliers, our vendors, our clients would be located, and maybe we need to shift to where we're in their immediate proximity. And so at that time, we realized that that place really existed in Asia. So we packed up our bags. We were fresh graduates. We decided we weren't going to go down the path of working traditional jobs. And we moved to Asia. We bought one-way tickets, and we said that this was going to be kind of where Earthos was going to live. And when we moved to Asia, we were all in. We raised a seed extension round there. We incorporated our business. We hired a full team. We did a full training module for them. We purchased equipment, registered, we applied for grants, additional funding. And for a while, it worked really well for us. We got to really go out there, a ton of our manufacturers who, you know, might be our clients, might be individuals that would potentially supply ingredients to us later down the line. And it worked very well for a while. And we then started to notice that there were a lot of different fundings coming out in Canada. So we're very lucky. Both Nuha and I were both immigrants, and we still were very well connected to the entrepreneurship community that exists in Toronto and in Canada as a large. So before we had decided that we were going to move overseas, we had gone through 2 different accelerator programs. One was Next Canada, and the other was CDL, Creative Destruction Lab. So Next Canada really focused on founder development and allowed us to hone in on some of those soft skills that are really crucial as founders for you to navigate the fun parts and the not so fun parts of building your business. And Creative Destruction Lab was really this 8-week program, 8-week iterative program where we were challenged with really rethinking how we structured our business model, and every single aspect of what we were working on. And so through these networks, we were still tapped into the entrepreneurship community that existed here. And we were hearing about all of these wonderful grants, these wonderful opportunities that were coming out and being offered to Canadian entrepreneurs that we were slowly starting to see would be extremely beneficial to Earthos. And so we decided to come back, test the waters a little bit, and we ended up applying for the SDTC grant. The SDTC grant is something that's offered to innovative clean tech businesses in Canada. And what they do is they'll actually match the funding you've raised, whether that's through private or VC-backed funding. And we were able to actually expand our runway by quite a bit with the help of SDTC. And through there, we were able to get access to a multitude of resources, or wealth of resources, that we really weren't seeing as much in Asia, where we were located. And so in that sense, we started to realize that maybe there were more opportunities that existed in Canada at the stage of business where we were, which was more so in the growth and expansion phase. And we decided to really take a chance and close up shop in Asia and move our business over to Canada. Now, this period was a transition phase for Earthos. We decided that, you know, we would first try to maintain both an Asia headquarters and a Canada headquarters. And we started working with the government of Canada. We got, again, the SDTC funding. We noticed that in Asia, there were less barriers to running pilots, but partners didn't need us to be there to run pilots. Whereas in Canada, we were able to really have a lot more non-traditional way of interacting with all of our clients, our vendors or suppliers. In Asia, we were noticing a lot more of a traditional business model. Something else that we noticed while we had this kind of 2-country system was Canada was giving us access to significantly more incubators. We were getting access to mentorships. The network here for startup entrepreneurs was a lot more robust, especially as we were building a clean technology in a space that really wasn't as mature as we wanted it to be. And so we were really leading a lot of the conversations in that space, and there was a lot more room for us to advocate for that in North America versus what we were seeing in Asia. The startup ecosystem through the University of Toronto, for instance, which is from where we graduated, really allowed us to get access to non-traditional modes of thinking. And so we started to even notice that the way we'd set up our business model made sense for Asia, but when we thought of a more global perspective, which we were really able to tap into from where we were situated in Canada and Toronto, having access to partners in Europe, in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, we noticed that a non-traditional method of thinking was really getting us a lot more traction and a lot more of the growth that we needed. And so in understanding all of it, we decided that we wanted to expedite the transition a little bit more. We ended up moving all of our business primarily to Canada, and the government of Canada was very supportive in helping us maintain that transition. And so again, we had the SCTC funding, but we were also able to apply for tax credits. So all of the research and innovation work that we were doing located here in Canada, that included, time spent on building different formulations, even if they weren't scalable or things that, didn't really go to market, all of those we were able to get tax credits for through a SHRED funding program. And so we realized that, we were being very supported in being able to do that transition. And so we eventually transitioned into a Canada HQ model that allowed us to maintain the entire team here, make sure that everything that we were doing was located in North America. And through there, we were actually able to understand our business a lot better. So Canada is, and I think that goes without saying, a very global country. You have individuals from all walks of life that move here, come here to do business, or want to permanently set up shop here. And so even our team itself is a very global team. We have, material scientists, we have climate advocates, we have environmentalists, and all of these individuals brought a very fresh perspective. And so it was a very heterogeneous team, but that really allowed us to look at the problem of plastics crisis in a more intersectional way and how it actually impacts different communities in different ways, and understand how globally we could situate ourselves to really support the transition away from plastics a lot better. And so we ended up actually pivoting our business model to a more technology-based model, where now we work with our clients to actually leverage AI-based technologies to develop custom formulations for them. And this is really unique. No one else is doing it, but it allows us to really help major brands, CPGs, manufacturers who might have their own very custom manufacturing systems, but not have a good understanding of material science concepts. And it allows us to leverage our IP to help them design their solutions a lot better. And so when we say we're rethinking the building blocks of plastics, we're really going down to the molecular level of what makes plastics bad, so to speak, and how do we improve upon that, and leveraging technology to do so. We've been able to really expedite our timelines from a 2-year traditional R&D model to now a 3 to 6 month integration model with our clients. And so that allows us to reduce costs for our clients by, up to 92%. And so a lot of that was really driven by where we were. We were getting access to a lot of CPG and brands that have headquarters here located in Toronto, in Canada, in Newmarket, where we could actually go there, have a one-on-one face-to-face interaction with them, understand what their pain points were, and understand how we can actually build intelligent solutions around them. Something else that we love about actually moving back to Canada is it was really easy to set up our business here. It was really easy to incorporate our business federally, get our business IDs, registration numbers. Applying for grants is very straightforward. Applying to accelerators, there's really a hunger within the Canadian entrepreneurship network to support growing startups. So I went through the Treefrog program, and I was able to get access to a mini MBA, which allowed me to really look at my business, my team, the way I actually build my projects in a lot more modular fashion. It's allowed us to iterate a lot faster. It's allowed us to get to our pivot a lot faster. But it also set me up with mentorship opportunities that I'm still connected with today, that I still leverage to date. We also work with Treefrog for some tech and design services. And so there's really an appetite within Canada that we've noticed for the startup community's growth. And there are so many opportunities for us to really tap into. And we've been here for some time, and we feel like we still haven't really checked off all of the boxes in terms of what we can build on or leverage to really grow and expand our business. And it's really catered to the size of the organization that you are. We've had different opportunities when we were seed versus a seed extension company versus now when we are a Series A. And so I feel like Canada has a very rich network that allows you to also share resources amongst like-minded founders. It's allowed us to really strengthen our sense of belonging in Toronto startup communities. We, as founders, get to commiserate with like-minded individuals as well in terms of what's working, what's not working. But in a way, it's really kind of grown Earthos to where now we're very confident in going out and talking about the Canadian tech, the Canadian founder environment. And we're very excited that, I get to come here and talk about what Canada has given to us to be able to grow and build our business. And I can't say enough about all of the opportunities that we've been given. And I feel like as we continue to grow, think about our Series B, there's going to be a wealth of network and opportunities that's going to open up again. We have Canadian VCs who've really connected us to different financial institutions, different reporting structures as you kind of build and grow your company to make it very seamless for you to be successful in Canada. So I'll stop here. But I'm very happy to connect over LinkedIn if any of you have any questions or would love access to different resources in either transitioning your business over to Canada or getting access to different resources before you think about that transition, because I can't say enough about how great the Canadian startup network is. So yeah, thanks so much, and back to you guys.
Thank you, Kritika. Quite an inspirational journey that we got to hear about, and really a first-hand experience and a recent experience with the Canadian expansion. So that's really, I'm sure, quite helpful for the founders joining us today. Up next, we have one more entrepreneur, and I'd let CC Gong from Treefrog to introduce him.
Hello, everybody. Okay, I'll mute myself. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Great. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Cici. Very excited to be here. It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Mohammed Sipahi. Mohammed is the CEO and the founder of Rapido, one of the companies we have proudly supported in the past. He has successfully arrived in Canada and is now building towards his success in Canada. Mohammed is here to share a little bit about his journey. So please join me in welcoming Mohammed.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Cici, for the introduction. I'm so pleased that I'm here to talk about my story and my journey in Canada. I believe this is one of the most important decisions anyone can make in their lifetime, and events like these provide valuable insights and supports, which make it easier for people to navigate such important decisions. So I want to thank the organizers and other members for creating this opportunity to learn together. Let me introduce myself and my startup Rapido. I've been working for more than 12 years in tech sector, and also I launched 2 SaaS startups so far. At Rapido, we are developing an AI-powered project assistant, which is tailored for mining and engineering companies to boost their productivity. Our aim is to launch it to the market before the end of 2024. But why we chose Canada as our new base for expanding our business? Within our team, we were confident in our potential to become a global player and offer tech solutions for mining and engineering companies worldwide. So we started research about countries with startup programs and considering options like the Netherlands, UAE, Portugal, and so on. And finally, we chose Canada for 3 important reasons that I want to share it with you. The first one is that there are numerous mining and engineering companies in Canada, which offers a promising market for our solution, which is really crucial for our business. And the second one is that accessing to the US market is much easier from Canada compared to other countries, which is really provide an excellent path for future expansion. And the last one is that I believe obtaining permanent residency through a SU program is more feasible than other programs. And this enables you to have a long-term plan for yourself and for your family. After deciding about the program, we applied for SUV program, and fortunately, we were accepted in Treefrog program, which was quite insightful and helpful for us to land our business here in Canada. And it has been about 4 months since I landed in Toronto, and I find it a really great place for both living and growing the business. One of the things that I really like about it is numerous of events, both free or paid, that offer opportunities for learning and networking. These events are really helpful for us to, refine our ideas or align our services and products with the expectations of the Canadian market. And additionally, Canadian people are really nice people who are always open to help newcomers, which make it easier to adopt here. And the last one is that diversity in Canada is really remarkable, and there are numerous and giant communities for all nations, such as Indians, Chinese, and other nations, which support their members in finding their path quickly. To wrap up, we all know that being an entrepreneur is one of the most challenging jobs in the world, due to the constantly changing situation that must be managed effectively. As an immigrant entrepreneur, these challenges are even greater, as adapting to new environment adds an extra layer of complexity. So I believe having a clear vision and also a comprehensive and well-detailed plan is really essential to tackle these challenges successfully. Thank you, and I will get back to you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. So up next, we have one more VC speaker, and I will let Laurie introduce her.
Absolutely. Thanks, Shivani. And thank you, Mohammed. Always great to see you, and so excited for your business in Canada. Something that we're really passionate about is following along with our entrepreneurs, because we know that this is a long and sometimes lonely road. So I am so excited to introduce a longtime friend of the Treefrog Accelerator program, the wonderful Danielle Graham, who is the general partner of Phoenix Fire and co-founder of the Firehood, which is an absolutely incredible angel stage fund and network of women in tech, focused on women in technology. Danielle also is interested in investing in early stage tech startups and advising for scaling tech at Venture Lab, Brampton Venture Zone, and the Coalition of Innovation Leaders Against Racism. Thank you so much, Danielle, for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Laurie, and thank you all for having me today. I'm a huge fan of Treefrog. I've utilized their services as a founder as well, so that's been a huge boon to kind of reigniting all of that support. So thank you again. A little bit of context on me and what I've done. I also have a lot of international experience. I grew up in Southern and Eastern Africa before moving to Toronto. I also spent some time in different parts of Canada, in Waterloo, in Halifax, and I was born in Vancouver, and I'm currently in Calgary. So very national in scope, but I always come back to the places where you can truly build, which is what Treefrog has built. And so I really appreciate the network, the ease by which you can collect these services, and the larger grouping of combination of critical ecosystem elements for the early stages. So as you're looking at what type of services and supports do you need to truly build and operate your business, get some early stage clients that you can actually access, early stage investing, such as angels and VCs. I was going to go through some of that so you can understand also the different elements and forms of investment. So the most common methods of angel investing are individual, so high net worth individuals who are accredited. They complete the whole investment journey on their own, so it's not about an early stage or later stage investment. They can contribute at any point. And then you have angel networks. So you'll have networks that bring together investors, pitches, company reviews, collaborative due diligence, and each investor is responsible for making their own individual investment decision. So you have to pitch to receive their funding, and you have to build that relationship. And then you have funds, which take upfront capital commitments from investors ahead of time, pool the capital, and make multiple investments over multiple years. So funds differ based on style, thesis, decision-making structure, and the level of active participation from those investors. So again, you're seeing a lot of inconsistencies in those early stage investors. And then you have active versus managed funds. So active, where a significant portion of the member base is actively involved in sourcing, screening, due diligence, investment decisions, and negotiations, or a more managed fund where there's a specific partner who's responsible for all those activities, typically more of the general partner structure. So once you hear that, that'll give you a sense. And then there's SPVs. There's people who can run up an SPV. I have a couple of great examples of that in the ecosystem, and they do it not only for Canadian companies, but international. And sometimes that's actually part of their thesis. So similar to a fund, they pool the capital together and under the same terms. However, they're used for more single effective investments. So they don't have the pre-committed capital to deploy, and they're running out of time to deploy it. And so I actually do all of these, which is why it's quite confusing. So have an angel fund where individuals gather and they have different levels of experience and they learn and they can make their own decisions. So when people ask me, well, what does an angel look for? Like, well, what does a person look for? Because they are just individuals. And so there are some personas that you can kind of glean over time. And then we also have a fund called Archangel based in Waterloo. And it's nice and complicated in that there's multiple funds under that structure that have different theses and different general partners. But overall, there's pooled capital, and those decisions can be made either collectively or separately, which actually does enable more activity in these early stages of investment. And that was the intention, because there is a bit of a gap across Canada at that stage. The US is much more active and risk-taking from that standpoint. But if you're going to go anywhere and find those types of individuals, it would be in Newmarket. It would be in this region where there's so much activity, where there's a lot of funds, know the quality of the companies coming out of Treefrog accelerators. So I could tell you a little bit more about the overall angel investment statistics and what you're looking for in the funding ecosystem. But I would say overall, key things to keep in mind are that people are in the angel ecosystem and in the early stage funding to find superstars, to find gems like yourselves who are building incredible potential unicorns. And so they're looking for examples and indicators of that. So as you're thinking about your pitch, as you're thinking about your traction and your milestones, think about the beta stages of strategic milestones that you need to hit, as well as the financial milestones. And a lot of that comes down to positioning and indicators of why startups succeed, such as market, team, are you solving a true problem? Can you show this based on evidence? So maybe you have evidence in another country that you can bring to showcase, and then you have a few proof points in Canada just to say, basically, here's a pilot. We were very intentional on how we built this out, and now this will showcase how we can deliver for 10 more companies in the same sector. And that showcases your value proposition. So you want that to be extremely clear. You want to be customer centric. You want to have a strong business model. You want to show that you're not going to run out of cash flow tomorrow, so that there's confidence that you can get to the next round of follow-on funding. And you want to be coachable and adaptable and pivotable. And I think I just made up a new word, but you get it. And passionate about what you're building and knowledgeable about it. So as you can tell, a lot of these elements relate to you as an individual and the relationship that you're building with potential investors. So I think all of those are really critical. And so an investor or an individual is thinking through, well, is this going to be a great investment? And it's not necessarily about whether you are a great investment or if they have an opportunity to make a better investment elsewhere. So sometimes when it's not a yes, it's a no. When they need to be thinking through all the different pieces around, okay, do they have confidence in the founders? Is there sufficient due diligence? Are there favorable deal terms? Is there alignment with the personal thesis? So it's not to say it's not easy, but it's very doable and it's manageable, especially for companies that are coming with already a global mindset. I think founders like yourselves are what Canada needs. And I've seen kind of homegrown companies not have that global perspective. And so as they're expanding, they're like, okay, well, now I'm going to move from Kitchener to Guelph. I'm like, okay, well, we need to think a little bit bigger than that. So bringing that to the table is extremely valuable and valued, and the experience of your team and whether or not you kind of fill those gaps in the ecosystem will all play a critical role. So that's what we're about. In some cases, you will run into investors who don't invest outside of Canada or have some caveats, but I think overall, especially with individuals, they can put their money wherever they'd like, and you just have to convince them of that. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate this team, and happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for your insights based on your wide experience in the funding domain of Canada. Up next, we have someone from the banking sector joining us. I'll let Amer from Treefrog introduce him.
Thank you, Danielle, and thanks, Larry, for being here. Larry is works with the technology sector at BDC, the Business Development Canada, and their slogan is the bank for entrepreneurs. So he's at the right place, and you're at the right place as well to learn a little bit about how BDC helps entrepreneurs both on the funding side, on the advisory side, and all sorts of other things. Treefrog itself also works directly with BDC, and so I think Larry is a great fit for us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for having me here. I have always been a big fan of Treefrog accelerators. I've met with many good companies through these programs in the past. So a little bit about BDC, Business Development Bank of Canada. So we are a crown corporation. What it means is the only shareholder of the bank is the federal government of Canada. The bank has been set up for since right after I think in the 1950s, and the goal is to support business that is in Canada. So if you have foreign investors and you are setting up a company in Canada, then we can help. If it's a foreign entity, then it is not within the mandate of the bank to support that. So we say it's a bank. At the same time, we also do a lot of things based on what's good for the Canadian economy. So I can speak about how we are different from the other banks. And one thing is you wouldn't see us when you're in Canada. You wouldn't see us on every corner like the big banks that's for individuals. So BDC doesn't have any personal banking services. We are only working with the business. And by doing that, we're focusing on, hey, all the money that we're making through the bank will be reinvested into more loans, more investment into the business. And there is no shareholder to report to on a quarterly basis. So a lot of the action of the bank is just saying, hey, is this the right thing that we should be doing? Also, we act as government agents sometimes because of the shareholding. So I was listening to talking about all the grants, different entities that is supporting the ecosystem in Canada. We're part of that as well. So sometimes all the government agency like EDC, BDC, which is EDC is focusing on exporting, and the Trade Commissioner, which is talking about bringing Canadian business outside, and IRAP is talking about technology innovation. We will sit around together if we see one company has a lot of potential, and we want to make sure all these government initiatives are focused on to make it possible for them to grow faster. So talking about with the companies that we meet with, I would say just like Amir was saying, we have traditional banking, which is talking about non-dilutive, debt solutions. We also have investors. BDC VC is the biggest VC in Canada when you look at the volume they're doing. And also we have advisory. Advisory focus on working with companies that are growing and then need to put more structure into their business. So we want to make sure we are supporting every stage of the business. And we have seen different challenges they have come to, and want to make sure that we're fitting and we're complementing the founders, the equity investors, and also the other banks that would be partner of the company along the way as well. So when I think about when I think about the technology company we work with, typically we want to get to know the founder, at an earlier stage to see, hey, what's the potential, how they want to grow. Different from angel investors, at VCs, we're not looking at the maximum, how much they can do, how much return we're getting, because oftentimes we're non-dilutive. So our upside is limited. On the other hand, our downside, the risk we're taking, that also needs to be, corresponding. So if it's the idea stage, we probably couldn't do anything because this is not the kind of risk we want to take on if we're talking about non-dilutive debt, right? However, as the company generating revenue, those pilots becoming realized, then we say, hey, traction here. So we define that revenue would be great, who you're working with would also be great, and also who are your investors, what you have done in the past. So taking all those things into consideration, we can say, hey, is the forecast reasonable? Is this something that can have enough runway, and can our participation make a difference? And also, hey, is there a chance that we can get paid back? So that's usually our thesis to look at a business. So making sure that it's enough market traction is there, we are flexible, we are patient, and we can drive between debt and equity depending on the solution. Sorry, not solution, but depending on the market, what business we're talking about. But we want to be that fit within whatever the founder want to build. Between building this balance between debt and equity. And if we have a question, please connect me with LinkedIn, or if you want to ask any question in the chat, I'm happy to discuss more on that. So overall, I'm saying what I'm trying to say is I think Canada has a great startup and tech ecosystem, as the other panelists are saying here. We believe we are a unique part within this ecosystem, where we are willing to take reasonable risk and provide something non-dilutive. At the same time, BDC has the equity and the advisory arm that can support a business, whenever the opportunity presents itself. So thank you, Treefrog, for having me here, and I'd love to connect more with the business owners in the group.
Thank you, Larry, for sharing your insights on how the banking sector works and how founders can acquire funding once they have taken the step to expand into the market. I would request our attendees to write in your questions. We have a few here, but I would request some more. because this is a good opportunity to get them answered as we have all these experts on the line. If you'd like to connect in and ask your question directly by speaking with the experts, you can do so by raising your hand as well. So feel free. So I will start with one question. This is for you, Larry. So Binoy asks, what is the eligibility criteria to get loan from BTC?
I think banks usually write a big, document about eligibility. I think most important here is, hey, we have a Canadian entity, and also we have a founder that has a link to Canada. Other than that, there are things related to, hey, what kind of activity that bank doesn't want to get into, but mostly those are related to reputational risk. So I'm going to skip that part. I think it's more about the Canadian tie. And what I would say is, as long as there's a company in Canada, that's the number one eligibility. Another is the founders. If you are in here, please build your credit history so that we can leverage that. It is quite important, and also it's the kind of thing, it's easy to get. However, when people are applying for loans, whether for personal mortgage or for business loans, if we don't have the history, then it's going to take some time to build it. So it's definitely a priority to look at. Does that answer the question?
I suppose, yes. I mean, it is quite a broad question, I would say. So I think we have some direction. So thank you, Larry.
Yeah, I'm focusing on the eligibility as in really just eligibility.
Yeah. Yes.
That could be a great company, located in South Africa. And in fact, I have one example about that. So they want to move here. But then I asked them, how we're going to do this. If we're going to do the loan on your Canadian business and we can show, hey, there is, revenue going through here, then I can do it. But if they want me to fund the South African business, then I can't.
Makes sense. Yes. Thank you. So up next, we have a question from Kunal. So he's asking about the process of setting up in Canada. So I suppose this could be best for Brooke. Brooke, if you could let us know about a few options that could be suitable for an Indian startup.
Absolutely. Sorry, Shivani, where can I see the questions?
So they are in the Q&A section written in.
Which one there are you?
So Kunal is asking about a general question, and he just wants to know about the process of setting up. So we don't have any more details at this point. Kunal.
Oh, I see. Okay, great. Sorry, I'm just looking at it there. So I guess the question could be interpreted a number of different ways. If Kunal is asking about how to set up the legal entity.
Quickly, sorry. So we have Kunal available to speak, so I'll just let him.
Sure, great. That would be wonderful.
Hi, Kunal. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Just a quick one. I'm the co-founder of an events and wedding management company, definitely not in the space of tech and everything. Run a very conventional business mindset, but looking to expand into the North American market. So I've explored the LA region. Wanted to understand how about Canada, the processes, understand the scope of investments and growing the team there.
So I would thanks a lot for the question, Kunal. And to answer that question will require a variety of different specialists, which thankfully for you, that is what D Globalist has pulled together. But you're looking at speaking to a corporate lawyer, someone that can help you understand the different types of incorporation, whether it's federal or provincial, and the different facets of that, as well as someone like me who can help you understand the different immigration avenues you have available to you. So for example, if you are typically the startup visa program, and our folks from Treefrog can jump in and correct me if they think differently, or if they have other experience, but typically the SUV program are tech-enabled startups. Not always the case, for sure. But if you're running a traditional business and looking to expand, then something like a provincial nominee program may be a more suitable option from the immigration perspective. And then in terms of funding, that's where you would reach out to entities like BDC and the Firehood, so you can understand better what the financing and landscape looks like in terms of your particular industry and the stage of your business. So yeah, I hope that helps answer the question.
Yeah,
and
if
there's any other experts on the call that want to answer from their perspective, I think that could be helpful, because it's definitely a multifaceted question.
Shivani, I can just give, because I think there's a couple of questions around this about the nature of the businesses. So the startup visa program has recently changed. On April 29th. There was a reduction of the number of businesses we can support through our program to 10. Generally, the SUV program, while our company focuses a lot on technology and scalable based businesses, we do have companies that are not necessarily technology based. The key to answering the question of whether your business is one that SUV would be right for is, are you either an innovative company or an innovative individual? And what innovation means is different to each of the designated organizations. For us is, you may be doing something very traditional, like maybe a wedding business, but what is it that you're doing that's innovative? Is it different? Is it something that Canada doesn't already have? I got married 2 years ago, and I'm telling you, they're all the same right now. So if you're doing something a little different, then maybe that's something we want to talk about. It's very hard to answer the question, would you be right or not, without getting into the details of your business specifically. But if you're bootstrapped, or if you're somewhat of a traditional business, but you're looking to add an innovative angle to your business as well, then maybe the SUV program is right for you. So it's really hard to answer just sort of on a broad basis. Tech is a focus of ours, but really the grander focus is, are you an innovative business, an innovative individual, and is your team doing something that's different or something that the country doesn't already have and has the ability to be successful here? So I think that's the best way to answer what type of business would make sense here.
And one thing I would add as well in terms of what is innovative, because although, as I mentioned, a lot of the tech, or a lot of the SUV founders and program participants are tech enabled. Tech, like I said, is just an enabler. So if you do have a traditional business, but as Amir said, you're adding something, the definition I like of what is innovation is, are you creating new value? And how are you doing that? So if you're doing something, I also got married not that long ago. If you're doing something, for example, a lot of the cases, or a lot of how innovation is measured is what you're doing, making it easier, faster, and cheaper for someone to complete the tasks that need to be done. So for example, in the wedding industry, are you making it easier for someone to plan a wedding? There's a lot of different things that go into planning a wedding. Are you making it cheaper? I would have liked an option that made it cheaper to plan and execute a wedding. So those are some of the things to add as well. And I've worked with, a fair few clients who are starting businesses in Canada that aren't necessarily tech driven.
Thank you, Brooke. So we have one more hand raised. Rajat, I will allow you to speak. You can ask your question now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so we are actually a tech company in the middle age kind of thing. We are already in early revenue stage. So just want to understand, first of all, as we have spoken about how relevant it is for a product business to be IT product business to be in present in this kind of expanding market in Canada, and how can we actually leverage people like Mohan in actually getting into the stage of investment, especially for early stage ventures like us.
But certainly, I mean, you can certainly connect with me, and happy to learn about your company for sure. And again, that's the advantage of a program like Treefrog. I think there are different investor events and connections they can make. So I guess the important is to try to get connected to the ecosystem and different programs that are available, and start to. I guess it is, unfortunately, it is through the connection. So more importantly, I think it's if people need to know what you're doing, so you have to be getting in front of the investors. But before that, are you ready to take investment? What type of investment do you want to take on? What stage you're at? Maybe it is an angel group. Maybe it's a debt financing. Those questions you should probably have an answer. But there are a lot of us here. Any one of us can provide different perspective, but I'm happy to connect with you and share more details from our own fund perspective.
Thanks, Mohan.
Thank you, Mohan. I can jump in as well, CC from Treefrog. Rajat, and I see a few other questions in the Q&A section asking about how can they take this to Canada or North America in general. At Treefrog, we offer a suite of services to help you relocate your business to Canada. As mentioned by my colleagues earlier, we also run an international program for those who are not currently in Canada yet, but are thinking about moving their business or part of their business over to Canada. So we do run our program on a cohort basis, and we typically run 3 to 4 cohorts every year. And during those cohorts, those are 6 weeks long program where you'll learn everything about doing business in Canada, getting familiarized with the business environment here. You'll have an opportunity to connect with the wonderful our VC friends, our angel friends, as well as alumni coming from, we have supported over 300 international founders in the past. So you'll have, access into that community to, give you firsthand knowledge on how you can successfully or boost the success of your company by moving your business over to Canada. So if you want to learn more about how Treefrog can help, how this ecosystem can help, feel free to reach out to one of us here.
Thank you, Cece. So we have one more question from Aditya. I believe this would be best for Mohan, since it has to do with the SaaS industry. So he asks, we're a contract lifestyle management SaaS startup based out of India. Could you please provide insights or recommendations on the potential strategies and steps we should consider for effectively entering and establishing our presence in the North American market before our formal launch in Canada?
Yes, so I guess I would start out with doing some research ahead of time. Or I don't know if the one approach is, if you don't want to come in, is to find a partner, whether the big firm or adjacent industries, to kind of try to see through the partnership you can actually build some relationship, or at least find a target. So I would say, looking at operationally, you could actually try to get in front of these customers remotely as well. I mean, like there are Canadian companies that buy products from global organizations. So I think first question for you would be like, have you tried to reach out to some of the companies in Canada from India? Like, have you identified them first? And then have you tried to reach out to them? Now, through that process, you could probably understand the importance of you being, whether they want you to be present locally. In some cases, it does build credibility as well. In the absence of that, I would also recommend, as I mentioned earlier, to try to find partners. Again, that's a long sales cycle, I guess, long process to build a relationship with partners. I think it is come down to if there's something that you can do through a partner, maybe not a big organization, or maybe an individual that have relationship or previous sales reps that you have connections with, that you can gather some insights on the customer that you're targeting. Or I would even recommend just visit Canada, like, try to have, some pre-arrange some meetings with some of the companies that you're trying to meet with. And try to get into maybe, typically an industry event. If you can coincide with some industry events that's taking place in Canada, or even in the US. We have Collision coming up, which is a startup focused event as well, which is less than 2 weeks from now. So that kind of create, I think, being present locally, like, will give you some insights. In the absence of that, I think you have to be a little bit creative, like, selling, think about selling globally, try to use relationships or connections, and also build a partner as well. So it is a very broad question. Happy to even I had a SaaS business. We were based in Canada, but we were in 40 different countries, and we built all that relationship remotely from here. So maybe there are some strategies that I could share that we used in the past. But it's probably another broad question. But the immediate answer I would say is, if you can find a partner, just to test the water, and then land here and then try to expand afterwards.
I think I would like to add something to that. So it's a very fundamental question, but for any expansion, that what a founder should look before expanding the business. And I think we have a great panel here, a lot of learnings. If you have listened to everyone and compiled the learnings. So Daniel started by saying that one should be coachable. So it starts from the very basic of learning and be open to learn. And Kritika talked about how important government grants were, and they did a thorough research on the government grants available for them. Mohan did talk about how important timing is. So you have to understand what your product is and how the market is doing for the similar products in Canada. And Larry talked about how company corporation is linked to bank account opening. So you will also have to study the regulatory angle. So there are a lot of nuances which put together in a form of a business plan in advance, which can be later executed if you find it feasible. So yeah, I mean, absolutely right, Mohan. So conferences are a great way of exploring the local markets. So it should start from just doing a temporary visit, testing the market remotely instead of going legal, and then working it on aggressively to tap the local market through the local support. So Sean did talk about how important it is. Mohammed talked about how important it is to even identify the nearby markets, like you have access to the US market through Canada as well. So a lot of nuances together. What we have done as D Globalist is to compile all of them for our founders for smoothing their international expansion journey.
Thank you, Devesh. Thank you, Mohan. In fact, we have a question that could be answered by Mohan from the VC perspective, and also by Larry from the banking side. Is there any focus on specific sectors for investment? So either from the VCs and from the government.
We are a sector agnostic, so we don't have a specific sector. But we talk about why you, why now, and why this. Why this means why is your solution different from what is out there, at least 10x better. And then it tends to be some sort of a moat. And to create a moat, we are tech-based. So usually we have a lot of SaaS or B2B or B2B2C. We can do hardware, but software has a big portion of it. The area that is easier to say what we don't focus on, like as a fund, there are funds specific to medtech, but we are not expert in medtech, so we tend to stay away from life science and med tech and pharma focused areas. But other than that, anything that's tech enabled, I think pretty much every industry is now have a tech component of it. We will look at it as well. So, but again, there's a lot of focus on AI, right? I mean, I don't know if there is a lot of hype. Maybe it has to go through some adjustment as well. Maybe we are overhyped. Maybe not. Right? We focus on Web3. We have a number of Web3 companies in our current fund. We're still very bullish on that. It's gone through the hype. I think we're now realizing real use cases in the Web3 blockchain space. And I think we focus on that. Quantum we have a company in the quantum, but it's really very futuristic. You really have to be patient to start realizing that in that industry. Yeah, so I think we're sector focused, sector agnostic. Climate change is actually, we have timing. When we talk about timing, climate, maybe the timing is right. We have a couple of companies, Wallpost, that converts lamppost to EV charging station. We have another one called Mammoth. It used to be called Carbon Neutral Club. Kind of doing carbon accounting, selling through enterprises to employees. So I think there is a lot of activities in carbon, climate tech as well. But I will pause here. Maybe Larry may be able to add more to it as well.
Oh, thank you, Mohan. Yeah, I totally agree with you. When it comes to investment, the fit, the partner of the fund, and what kind of company they're looking at. In BTC VC, we have different funds for different purpose there. So, for example, you see there's a clean tech fund. So just focusing on the clean tech business. We have another one, which is called the Seed Fund, which was launched last year. And they are looking at the B2B SaaS side. But when it comes to non-dilutive, when we're talking about the bank solutions, debt solutions, we're completely industry agnostic. So even if it's not technology, we would support that. So brick and mortar companies, we have tons of those that was in the portfolio. I personally would be looking at the technology-enabled, technology-innovative companies. But there is no focus because I want to echo here, like every industry needs technology. So these days, as long as we're providing a value here, we're changing the way how we're doing it. I think it's a tech company.
Thank you, Larry. This one question, I think I'll direct to Devesh. Sai is asking, what about some company that's looking for just market access? They have funding, but they're just looking for market access. So if there's any assistance they can get.
Absolutely. So I think connections are super important when you're just looking at the market access. Like Mohan has mentioned, it's important to establish a partnership, even if it is small. So it starts from establishing a small partnership with a local player who understands the market, and then taking your business further by reaching out to the clients directly. So it could be B2B2C initially, and then B2C. It saves time and it increases your market understanding. There's no need to immigrate. There's no need to incorporate a company in any country of the world. I started by saying that it's a borderless world now. Founders can, especially the tech companies, SaaS companies, or companies which have a global market fit. By just sitting remotely, they can talk to a potential partner, potential client. So it starts maybe with a LinkedIn introduction about the company, and then getting on a call to understand the local market. We are there to help. Treefrog is there to help. So yeah, I mean, it's important to start the discussion, then only you will know.
Thank you, Devesh. So James, we have James Daigle from Treefrog here as well. So I'd like to direct one question towards you, which we've received via email, which is, what factors do you consider as an as a designated organization when endorsing a startup under the SUV program?
Thank you very much. And here as well. Before I say what factor, I will say to follow up on that last question there, that's the importance of a good accelerator program, or a good program is getting into the network, because whether you're entering a new market from a new country, or just in business in general, the network around you is going to make that path easier. So a lot of times coming through, if you're wanting to just expand into a new market, it might be going through a program like this, even without the SUV in mind, of getting, into that network in the particular place. When we're looking for SUV, I'm going to go to CC, my colleague, in a minute, but in my perspective, what we're looking for are businesses that are scalable. We are platform agnostic as well, but scalability is a big thing, because a lot of times when you get here, you want to be able to grow that market. So we're looking at scalability, and is the business viable for the Canadian market or the Ontario market or whatever area you're focusing on? And alluding back to some of the things people said earlier, whether it's the wedding business or any other business, what is your differentiator? Is there something new? Is there something innovative, like Amr said before? So that's what we really look at, is what's innovative, what's different, is it scalable? A lot of times we look at it and it's not important, it's not totally important, but is it investment ready? Like, we have a lot of great investors on here. Mohan's a great one to speak with, and Danielle earlier. But looking at it is it going to be able to grow? But I'll go over for the detailed specifics to CC when it comes to when we're looking at products, because she's our international program manager and deals with people on a daily basis from all different sectors. CC?
Thank you, James. Well said. I think you covered all of the biggest factors that we look for. And just to add to that, I think one of the things that your business should be able to convey is the feasibility, right? Whether if your product is going to or will have the market to succeed in Canada, and whether this is the right solution in the Canadian market. So how viable and how feasible your product is also one of the other things that we look for. The other thing I would mention is the founders. So we understand, especially for early stage companies, right? Like, we're investing in the people behind the product. So if the founder is a subject matter expert, if they're a serial entrepreneur, they have led, multiple startups in the past and successfully exited them or turned them into something great. Those things are, things that we want to bring to the Treefrog Accelerator. So whether your team has the expertise to execute what you set out you're going to do on your business plan, whether if you're the subject matter expert, you have the domain knowledge, all of those will be all of those above will be evaluated when we look and accept companies into Treefrog Accelerator.
I just want to follow up one little bit on that, because I didn't mention people, but people is so important. So when you're bringing a team, a lot of times it's 3, 4, 5 founders with a company. We want to see that those founders know the business. They know, they're excited, they're passionate. And I know I speak for many investors, myself included. A lot of times people will say we invest in people. So the reality of it is there's no real new groundbreaking ideas out there, because there's a lot of great ideas and there's a lot of great ways to do a better mousetrap. But when it comes to that better mousetrap, or comes to that better idea, it's really the people behind it. Are they going to execute? Are they going to do they have a track record? Are they coachable? These kinds of things. And you can get that feel from an intake interview, or, even over a Zoom call with somebody. You can tell if they're holding back, if they're, trying to not look at you as experts or as anything. So I think people is a big, big part of it as well. So well said, CC.
Yes, agreed. People and products.
Sorry, is it okay, Shivani, if I just jump in as well? From the immigration perspective as well, I could not echo more, CC and James, what they've mentioned about the importance of the team and the people. And I noticed some comments in the Q&A just about changes to the startup visa program, which I don't think we have a ton of time to get into. But the point I wanted to make is that IRCC is putting more and more a greater emphasis on the viability of the business. And, in my opinion, what I'm seeing and what I know to be true is that really it does come down to the team, the people who are going to make it happen. Because as James just said, there are a million great ideas, but what sets someone with a great idea, apart from an entrepreneur, is the ability to actually make it happen. So IRCC wants to see that there's the right team behind the venture. And so they'll look at how, the expertise of each team member, how that comes together, whether it makes sense, how the people know one another, if it's a genuine co-founding team. And that's becoming more and more important in evaluation from IRCC's perspective. So I just wanted to add that lens as well.
Thank you, Brooke. In fact, there was a similar question along those lines where Millie is asking that she has a bootstrapped consultancy business. It is not a manufacturing or a software business. So she wanted to know how conducive the environment is for a conventional consultancy firm. So are there any options, do you think, not necessarily under the SUV program, but apart from that for such a business?
From an immigration perspective, sure there are. And I think we touched on it as well in the discussion about the wedding business and event planning, if whether or not it's, traditional, or are you doing something different in your consultancy that's, that the mainstream aren't doing, that makes what you're providing, makes the outcome faster, easier, and cheaper for your consumers. So absolutely, I think, again, it would require more of a deep dive into what the business is and how they're operating, what the business model is, the revenue generation, and whether it's SUV or it's a provincial nominee program, or a pilot. We have Francophone and rural pilot programs now as well. So absolutely, it may be possible, depending on understanding more details of the business.
Thank you, Brooke.
And to add to that, from our perspective, we have supported, agencies and consultancies in the past. I think one of the things that we look for, even though it's, an agency or consultancy, it's not, people think that they might be traditional, but the way we see is maybe there is something that they're doing that's unique and make them stand out. So one of the companies we've supported in the past, they are an agency, but they're really innovative in terms of how they deliver their services to their clients. They make it easier for the clients to provide data, to provide, their business health statistics, to help the agency provide better and more informed decisions. So all of that would be considered.
Thank you, Cece. So just to bring in a bit of an entrepreneur perspective, I'd like to ask a question to Mohammed, which we've received. So Mohammed, how did you, when you immigrated to Canada, have you found any networks or associations particularly helpful for building connections as an international startup founder?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Yes, as I told you, there are numerous organizations which supports entrepreneurs here. If I want to mention one of them is a Microsoft Reactor, which is a really good organization for events for AI and providing services. And also Microsoft has a program for startups that you can apply for getting credit for Azure and something services like this. Another events that I had experience to participate is a collision, which is a start on June 17, which is a great event in Toronto. It's really giant and reputable. And there are a lot of investors and organizations and mentors that you can benefit from it. So based on your expertise of area, you can access to different networks and organization to leverage your business.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think that answers this question. Are there any more questions from the attendees? we can take one more. Okay. So we have one raised hand. I'll just. Hi, Devin.
Hi, Shivani. Okay, so we have a firm which is currently doing business in Canada, and we have seen strong growth in the last 1 year. Our requirement at this point is to incorporate in North America. I wanted to know a little bit more about these, the residency requirements, or just how I could help, how I could incorporate there.
So I can jump in and just share some information. So what I want to be clear of, I know there's the first question as well was a little bit along this lines. I am not a corporate lawyer, so none of the information I can provide I can't give advice on how to set up a company. And so that's why when people are saying set up, if you mean incorporation, that's where a corporate lawyer would need to be the one providing that advice. But in terms of how could you establish a business that is aligned with one of the immigration programs, if you're looking yourself to come and work in Canada and become a permanent resident, residency requirements, if you're asking, how much time do you have to be in Canada? It differs by program. The startup visa program, one of the most attractive things about it is that you aren't required to be in Canada for a specific length of time, either during the processing or prior to that. For example, you don't have to make an exploratory visit, although it would make a lot of sense to do that. It's not a requirement as it is in some of the other programs like provincial nominees. So depending where you want to establish the business, if you're going through SUV, like I said, no requirements to visit or enter Canada before you apply. But if you're applying through a provincial nominee program, you would, depending on the province or territory, need to initially make an exploratory visit. And then some of the programs also have requirements that you live a certain number of days per year in the province where you're operating the business, and that you potentially, it varies by province and territory, that you are living within a certain radius of the business location. So it really does vary. And I think there's multiple angles that to answer that question, but I hope that gives you some information from the immigration lens.
I hope that answers your question, Devin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So we have one last question, a general one, so I will keep it open to our whole panel. So what are some of the most promising trends and opportunities that the Canadian startup ecosystem has at this point? CC, would you like to take this one from Treefrog's point of view?
Maybe we can ask the attendee to clarify in terms of trends. Do they mean like investment trends or type of business that we as an accelerator will like to accept? Like what kind of trends are they talking about?
So this was written in, so it's in general, what in terms of the environment in Canada, what are some industries that are particularly booming?
Right. I can speak in general. The trend changes all the time, but a couple of years ago it was blockchain, and that was pretty obvious. When you go to events, you'll see a lot of blockchain companies. And in recent years, what is the biggest trend other than AI, right? So a lot of our companies have been using AI in their applications. So AI is one of the biggest trends that I personally see in these recent years. But also along with that, we've supported companies, like consistently supported companies from the medtech sector. Ed tech, education tech is a big one, as well as agri-tech, clean tech. all of those companies are, regardless of what's going on in the market trends right now, they'll always be there to make sure they're, changing the lives of the Canadians. So I would say that's what I see, but I'll let other colleagues speak on that as well.
Yeah, I think CC, you nailed it with the ones that we see, and I know from an investment point of view, you often hear like agri-tech, clean tech, AI is definitely big. Me myself been around for 30 years of doing business, and at the end of the day, it's about the product market fit. Do your homework, find out where your product fits in Canada, find out who's doing it and how they're doing it well, and if nobody's doing it, look at that as, is that an opportunity or is that because it's not a good fit? So I think it's really just about doing the homework, and the entrepreneurs who have good ideas, who are going to execute, there is a spot for them in a market, and it's your job as entrepreneurs to really figure out what sets you apart and gets in there. But I think I might have frozen here. I see my, but hope that helps.
Thank you, James. Mohan, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think both CC and James nailed it. I think certainly there are hypes. Whether it's everyone talks about AI. There's now climate tech focus from an industry standpoint, but ultimately you have to understand the problem. Are you solving a problem? And are you getting focus on execution on your side? But I would say on the trend on the negative side, on the flip side of that is, 2021, we all saw the big trend. Everything was hyped up, high valuation. I think unfortunately right now, for founders, some of the founders that raised capital at that time, the reality is not the same environment for investment. And as a founder, my first startup was bootstrapped to 10 million in revenue. I would say at an very earlier stage, if you can bootstrap as much as you can, please do that. So focus on solving the customer problem. Try to figure out, make sure you understand the unit economics work. Think about, I remember when I started my company just around the .com era, one of the advisors said, you need three things in business: cash flow, and cash flow. So it's funny because, we change everything, but obviously it's important that you work with customers, you build a strong network, but also understand how you are going to be able to build a business that is going to be profitable, which we kind of missed it in 2021. Grow at all costs. I think now the reality is you got to make sure that unit economics work, they're solving a problem, and you're able to scale and make sure that whatever money you raise, you can efficiently, cash efficient about the fund. So it's a trend on a different side, in the sense that, in anywhere globally, is no longer, hey, I got a deck, I got an idea, and you can raise, but make sure that you have a business and you're solving some problem and building a profitable, successful business.
Thank you, Mohan. I hope that answers the question.
Vani,
yes.
If I just could add something. Thank you everyone who answered. Definitely product market fit is one of the biggest one. But in terms of if you're looking at trends in Canada, definitely Canada is looking towards all the innovative things that are coming up in AI, medtech, and also clean tech is one of the biggest thing, because Canada is working towards its net zero mission. Like they want to achieve it by 2050. So definitely clean tech is like a buzzing industry right now. And also it's always looking for innovative solutions in all industries, example, manufacturing, mining, even housing. So if you just go to the Canada government website, they have a bunch of different industries that they focus in terms of investment and in terms of innovative solutions. So yeah, just have a look at the website. And also they're also investing in companies in terms of cybersecurity, because Canada wants to protect its IP in all the tech industries. So if you have a solution in any one of these sectors, definitely test your market, make sure that you're solving the problem that the country has, and definitely look into your customers. Like everyone said, product market fit is the biggest one. Just because it's trending, it doesn't mean it might work. Make sure that your product is solving the problem. But yeah, like everything that everyone mentioned, I just wanted to add to the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushmita. I think, yeah, those are some good practical ways to go. Just the next few steps. So I think those are all the questions. I would like to ask one question, although, so this is for Devesh. Devesh, are you still here?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
So just want to ask a very general question. I suppose this could be suitable for all the attendees that we have right now that are still in the phase of considering which market to choose or if they should expand. What do you think are some of the signs, or what is the stage that they should actually take this step at?
It's a very tough question to answer, I would say, because every business is different. Like Kritika took the business to Asia and then went back to Canada. So it's important to see the market fit and study the benefits holistically. Out to go by before you expand or before you set up a company outside. Canada is amazing when it comes to mobility. There are a lot of immigration options, even if the Canada startup visa is facing changes and there is a limitation as to number of startups every endorsing body can endorse. But step number one should be identify the potential clientele and also the fit. Step number two is to test it practically. Everyone can make a plan, but the real founder can only execute. So execution is super important. Once you know the market potential, you have closed a couple of clients, then you can think about company incorporation. And thereafter, if the market is big enough, you can think about mobility as well.
Thank you, Devesh. Those were all the questions we had. We've slightly gone over time, but thank you so much for all the speakers for being here. I think it's been over 2 hours, but thanks to the enthusiasm that our attendees showed, I mean, we had to take these questions. So I'll just go ahead and extend my gratitude to everyone that participated. Today's session, I hope it has been informative. It brought you the insights that you were looking for to take the next steps in your expansion journey. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to D Globalist. We have the email address is inquire@dglobalist.com. You can also contact us on the phone. So just to go ahead with the participants that we have for the Business Expansion Week, I'd like to just go on with the schedule. To get into the details, it will be in the form of one-on-one meetings with the board of the panel of judges that we have, and founders can pitch their ideas to these judges. So each day will begin with a brief by D Globalist and Treefrog with pre-selected companies pitching that day, followed by individual meetings. So the details for these are sent out separately to the founders for their allocated time slots. The pitches will take place between 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. IST every day. If you, by any chance, have missed registering to pitch your idea for the Canada Business Expansion Week, you can still reach out to the team at D Globalist on inquire@dglobalist.com, and we can explore your options for your specific business, for your specific industry. And yeah, that is all from us for today. Thank you again for joining, and thank you to all the speakers again. Have a good night. Have a great day, in fact, in Canada, early morning. Thank you.